Up first. The area of a city is commonly measured in what? Square miles. Square miles. I know. Okay, now let's go over a few questions from the homework before we move on. Let's see. What page was the homework? 16? What page is this? 17, so one more. Okay, which ones do y'all want to go over? I can only do a few. 13? 14? All right, number 14. It says 3a plus y equals 5 plus 5a. Solve for a. Well, if the variable that they're wanting you to solve for is in two parts of the equation, what do you have to do first? Combine them. Make it one variable, okay? So we can either move the 3a over to the 5a or 5a over to the 3a. What do you prefer? Okay, so that means we need to subtract it so that it'll cancel on this side. And when we subtract it on this side, we now have what a? Correct. Negative 2a, we drop the plus y, and we drop the equals 5. Now what do I do to solve for a? Correct. And so now I have negative 2a equals 5 minus y. Now to solve for a, what do I do? Divide by negative 2, and I'm going to go ahead in this step and write it under each part separately. Divide that by negative 2 and that by negative 2. Those cancel, leaving a by itself like we wanted. 5 over negative 2 will not simplify or reduce, so it just stays negative 5 over 2. And then a negative over negative becomes positive y over 2. A equals y over 2. That's fine. He said that he ended up getting this. A equals y over 2 minus 5 over 2. Yeah, that's also correct because look, you still have a 5 over 2 and it's still negative in both of them, and you still have a positive y over 2. So it's the same answer. Okay, any other questions off the homework? Any more? 12? All right, number 12. Okay, we have 3b minus 4 over 2 equals c, and they want you to solve it for b. So b wants to be all by itself, so we got to get rid of the 3, the 4, and the 2. What do we move first? Right, we multiply by 2 on both sides. Those cancel out, leaving 3b minus 4 equals 2c. Now to solve for b, what do we move next? Right, we need to add the 4 and cancel it on that side and move it on that side. So we now have 3b equals 2c plus 4. And now what do we do to get b by itself? And I'm going to divide that by 3 and that by 3. So I end up with b equals 2c over 3 plus 4 over 3. Okay, one more. What do you want it to be? I mean, if you have one, we don't have to do one more. Number 7? Didn't we do that yesterday? Oh, okay. All right, number 7. Okay, 2/3 m plus a equals a plus r, and they want you to solve it for m. What should we do first? Right? Because we're trying to get that a away from the m, so we subtracted to cancel it. Then when you subtract it from this side, there's actually something to subtract it from. So what happens? Those cancel out as well, so you're left with 2/3 m equals r. Now what do we do? Correct. Multiply by what? Right, the reciprocal. Instead of dividing by 2/3 on both sides, we're going to keep change flip and multiply by the reciprocal, 3/2. Those cancel, leaving m by itself, and then we would write that as 3/2r. Okay, now go ahead and turn, I believe it's page 22. Yeah, because yesterday we did 20 and 21, so today we're going to continue this lesson on page 22. We skipped, yes, quickly. Raise your hand if you want a ruler so that she can just go and give you one, because I don't want everybody getting up. Okay, number 9. Remember, I'm going to do a quick review because we did have a few people out yesterday. This equation is in the form y equals mx plus b, which is also known as slope-intercept form. Now, the reason it's known as slope-intercept form is because m is slope, b is y-intercept, hence the name slope-intercept form. Now that we see that it's in that form, you can identify the m and the b, the slope and the y-intercept. What is the m? -5/3. Now, in the actual equation, the negative's kind of just out to the middle. You get to choose which number to put it on. It does not matter. The only thing is, you can only put it on one, because if you put a negative on both, what happens? The whole fraction becomes positive, because a negative over negative is positive. So for that reason, you can only put it on one. I normally always put it on the numerator, but you can put it on the denominator if you like. Okay, what is your b? 2. Now that number is also known as your y-intercept or your starting point. So you go to your y-axis and you plot a point at +2. Now, slope is also known as rise over run. So the top number, the numerator, will tell you to rise either up or down. Do you think a -5 is going to be up or down? Down. The bottom number is your run, which is left or right. Do you think a +3 is going to be left or right? Right. So now that we've plotted our starting point at 2, we're going to go down 5, right 3. So down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 1, 2, 3, and that's where we plot our next point. Now, you want to make as many points as you can. Can we go down 5, right 3 again? No. Could we have gone the opposite way, up 5, left 3? We would have been off. But look, had you put the negative on the bottom, isn't that what it would have told you to do? Up 5, left 3? Up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left 1, 2, 3. So yeah, it would have just been off by 1, but you see that it still stays in line with the other two. Okay, so then connect your points to form the line and draw an arrow at both ends, because lines go forever in both directions. Okay, number 10. What is the slope? Very good. There is no slope. Well, it's 0, because look, everybody look at the board. This is still in the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, it's still in the form y equals mx plus b. But do you see an x anywhere? No. So what happened was, it was y equals 0x minus 2. There's no need to write 0x. So they just didn't write it at all, and that y-intercept scooted over to fill in the gap. So the m was 0, which we can call 0 over 1, so that we have a rise and a run. The y-intercept was, or is, -2. So we're not going to move up or down because your rise is 0, but we are going to move which way to the right. Which way 1 unit? Right. So if I plot my y-intercept at -2, and then I don't go up or down, I just move 1 to the right, what kind of line am I making? A horizontal line. Does that line have any steepness to it? No, because it has 0 slope. Remember, the 0 slope, horizontal line. No, this kind of line is undefined. Yeah, this is zero slope. This is undefined slope. Okay, remember, if your slope is 0, it's completely flat. As your slope number increases, the steepness increases. So the larger the slope, the steeper the line. Okay, number 11. What's different about number 11? Correct. We cannot just figure out M and B right away. Okay, because it's not in y equals mx plus b form. So, okay, so you're assuming that the slope is 5. Okay, watch Naya. Okay, look, 5x minus y equals 2. I'm going to use this space over here to do my scratch work. This is why we've been learning how to solve literal equations, because now we know how to isolate a variable. We know how to get y by itself. What do I do first? Not yet. Shouldn't I move this mx to that side of the problem? Yeah, subtract 5x. On this side it cancels, leaving the negative y. What are y'all doing? I know, but didn't it go out like 30 seconds ago? It's still in here? Okay, so we have negative y, and on the right we have a 2 minus 5x. Do we now have y by itself? No, that's a negative 1 being multiplied by the y. So now what do we need to do? Divide by negative 1 on both sides. So now look, we have y equals 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. Negative 5x divided by negative 1 is positive 5x. Now, you have y by itself, but I would do one more step. I would go ahead and rearrange it and put my mx first and then my b second. So you're right about the slope, and then the y-intercept is negative 2. Okay? But you have to be able to visually see that this is going to go over there and become negative. So when you divide it by negative, it'll become positive. And then this number will be divided by the negative 1 and become negative. You have to be able to do all that in your head. So now I'm going to plot my y-intercept at negative 2. And then from there, if my slope is 5, that's like 5 over 1. So that means I go up 5 and right 1. And then I can't do that again. I also cannot do the opposite of down 5 and left 1. So I connect my points with a straight line. Okay, number 12. Number 12. X minus 3y equals negative 3. This time, to get y by itself, what do I do? Subtract x. The x is positive, so we subtracted to cancel it. Those cancel, leaving negative 3y. People are not paying attention. And then watch over here. Okay, everybody watch. Even though it currently says negative 3 minus x, don't I want it to be mx then b? So just go ahead and reverse those and bring down the negative x first and the negative 3 second. You can do that. As long as you keep the x negative and the 3 negative, it's fine. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to do another shortcut step. When I divide by negative 3, instead of writing the whole thing by negative 3, I'm going to go ahead and put each part over a negative 3. Those cancel because they're 1. A negative over negative becomes positive x over 3, and then a negative over negative becomes positive 1. So now that I've rewritten this in slope-intercept form, hold on, it was a negative 3 divided by a negative 3, so a positive 1. So now, what is the m? Good job, 1 over 3. Because there's an understood 1 right here. So 1/3 is your slope. What is your y-intercept? 1. So I'm going to plot my y-intercept at 1, and from there I'm going to go what? Which way over? Correct. Up 1, right 3, and I can do that again. Up 1, right 3. Now, what if you're working on one of these questions and it says, what is the x-intercept? What do they mean when they ask for x-intercept? Where it crosses the x-axis. Well, couldn't you just go the opposite way? Go down 1, left 3, and now you'll see that it crosses the x-axis there. And then down 1, left 3 again. Okay, now connect them. Okay, now we're going to try number 13, but I'm just giving people time to copy if they're still copying any of that. Okay, number 13. 5x minus 2y equals negative 10. We're trying to solve it for y equals mx plus b. So what do I do first? Right, that's my mx, so I want to go ahead and move it to the other side because it belongs over here. Those cancel. Now on the left side, you're getting closer to having y by itself, but not quite because it's being multiplied by the negative 2. On this side, instead of writing negative 10 minus 5x, let's go ahead and reverse them and put negative 5x and then negative 10. That way it's mx, then b. Now the last step to get y by itself is divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. Those cancel, leaving y by itself like we wanted. Negative divided by negative is positive. 5 over 2 will not reduce or become a whole number, so you leave it like that. And then a negative 10 divided by negative 2 is positive 5. So this equation, when rewritten in y equals mx plus b form, looks like this. Once you have it rewritten, it's easy to identify the slope and the y-intercept. What is the slope? And what is the y-intercept? Okay, so we start by plotting our y-intercept at 5, and then what does the slope tell us to do to get to the next point? But you can't go up 5, so what should you do instead? Correct, down 5 and left 2, and you can do that 2 times. All right, number 14. Okay, we're trying to get this in slope-intercept form, so what do I need to move first? It's a positive x, so I subtract it. So then you have negative 2y equals what? Correct. Go ahead and rearrange that into mx plus b form. Now you divide by negative 2, divide this by negative 2, and divide that by negative 2. Those cancel, leaving y by itself. A negative divided by negative becomes positive, and 6 over negative 2 becomes negative 3. So now we have y equals x over 2 minus 3. So that makes the slope what? Right, 1 over 2, because this understood 1 right there. So the slope is 1 over 2. The y-intercept is negative 3. So when you graph it, you always plot your y-intercept first. That's why it's also called your starting point, and it's at negative 3. And then from there we do what? Up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. Or we could have gone down 1, left 2. Down 1, left 2. Down 1, left 2. Okay. All right, look at problem number 10. See how it was just y equals negative 2, and it became a line that cut through the y-axis at negative 2? Okay, let me say that again. Y equals negative 2 is a line that cuts across the y-axis at negative 2. So what does that tell you about number 15? It's going to cross through the x-axis at 1, so what kind of line would that be? A vertical line which has undefined slope. Right, if it says x equals a number, it's just going to be a vertical line cutting through the x-axis of that number. Okay, I'm going to try one more with you. Let's go down to number 17. Negative 4y plus 12 plus 7x equals 0. But it's really not. What do I do first? Okay, so we can subtract the 12 over to the other side and cancel it on the left. Now we have negative 4y plus 7x equals negative 12. Shh. Now what do I do? Subtract 7x. And so that becomes negative 4y equals. Right, go ahead and reverse the order so that it's in mx plus b form. And now to get y by itself, what do I do? Divide by negative 4. And so y equals negative divided by negative is positive. 7 over 4 is not going to reduce and it won't become a whole number. And then negative 12 divided by negative 4 becomes positive 3. So your slope is 7 over 4, which means up 7, right 4. Your y-intercept is 3. So you plot a point at 3, but can you go up 7, right 4 from that point? So instead we need to go down 7, left 4. Okay, I'm about to show you something real quick, and I don't want you writing anything. I just want you to watch. Yeah, this is the last thing. Okay, look, pay attention. I didn't say pack up. Pay attention. Negative 4y plus 12 plus 7x equals 0. We chose to move the 12 over and then move the 7x over to get y by itself. But couldn't you just have moved the 4y over to this side? And now you have 12 plus 7x equals 4y. And now divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4, and you have 3 plus 7 fourths x equals y. And then you could quickly rearrange that. The symmetric property says we can flip-flop the sides. Y'all just are always in the habit of leaving y where it is and moving everything else, but you can move y if that's the simplest thing. Okay, next Monday we're going to start graphing inequalities. Tuesday, properties. Wednesday, finish properties and review. Thursday, review. Friday, test. What is due Thursday? Pink sheet. What's due Friday? Grade sheet.